no matter, super dope death, and even outrageous. If I was an animal that kept me in cages. So get ready for this. Y'all ready for this?
G'day everyone, Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy with this week's riveting episode of Spy Curious, what's happening in the investigation, loss adjusting, risk management and work health and safety industry throughout Australia. Our first guest this week, all the way from beautiful Melbourne, is Brett. How are you going, Brett?
I'm very well, thanks, Mike. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to all your viewers.
Thanks, mate. It's pouring with rain here on the Gold Coast. It's absolutely muggy and disgusting.
Well, we're in our 5th day in a row in the 30s, so we could borrow a bit of that.
No worries. I'm sure those train tracks are melting down there, the tram tracks.
Getting close to.
Brett, I got you on today out of interest from our people. They asked me what a loss adjuster does, and they want to know not so much the bigger than Ben-Hur stuff, but yes, the everyday activities of a loss adjuster. So if you could just run through some examples of what do you do during that time, mate?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike, and it's a good question, one I'm happy to touch on. One of the things that appeals to me about loss adjusting is the amount of time you spend out of the office. So on any given day in the morning, you'll get your weekly planner and your monthly planner, but as losses occur, you will be asked to visit sites. So generally speaking, you will be issued with a schedule of where you need to be. Generally, it's visiting sites to assess a loss. So if I were to break it up at a bit of a higher level, I would say I spend approximately just a bit over half my time on site assessing post a loss, whether that be a fire or a vehicle or an incident of public liability. But basically each day you look at where you're meant to be, assigned by who you are meant to be meeting with, it generally be a client and some other investigators. And basically no 2 days are the same, which is one of the great things about the job. But basically do a lot of site visit, and then in conjunction with that, Mike, I'd say probably the other largest component is the composition of your reports, really, that you will generally be feeding back to the insurer who has assigned you to the task.
Fantastic, mate. And how big's your team there at your organisation? We've
got 5 in the team presently, so myself and a person in operations, and then we have someone else looking after a bit more of the back end type operations, but a small team, but a very effective one, and one that works very congenially together. So, yeah.
Have you had much activity up in northern Queensland with the rain, Brett?
Not too much at the moment, Mike. It's a bit like everyone else. I mean, sort of vicariously we have, yes, and I mean, we've been watching the forecast in relation to La Nina quite heavily. And I noted 2 nights ago on the news there's an incident of a hot air balloon up on the east coast that's in relation to the Bureau and so forth. But we haven't had any, say, on-the-ground work there, but we are going to an expo up in Queensland in July this year. But in answer to your question, have we been assigned any direct work as a result of direct weather we've had recently? No, but I will expect that to change as the year unfolds and just as restrictions lift a little bit.
Okay, mate, just as an aside, back in the 2012, I think it was, when we had the big rains up here in Queensland, it took 2.5 years for the loss adjusters to complete the claims, the amount of claims that came out of it. So it is a massive industry right across the board.
Yeah, it is. And as you have alluded to, Mike, so much of it can be seasonal, i.e. when you're looking at catastrophic losses, be they hail, fire, or flood, and flood, can have varying definitions, but very much it's seasonal. In relation to the question, at the time of, say, Cyclone Yasi and a little bit after that in 2011-12, as you have referenced, at the time I was working for Australian Red Cross as their national coordinator, and they suffered a lot of losses. But I know the industry's done a lot of work as catastrophic losses, once in a 25-year event. is now being considered to be either a once in a 5-year event or a once in a 2-year event. So insurers have been put on notice by, to some degree, the government and the ICA, the Insurance Council of Australia, that one of their paramount I guess KPIs these days is how quickly they're able to respond to what are considered cat losses, i.e. floods that impact a lot of residents, either in a commercial or residential capacity, that want to be lodging claims, the next day, want to have an assessor on site. I mean, insurers now, I won't go into the absolute intricacies of the KPIs, but it's not unusual to be required to be on site within 2 days of a loss, whereas if you wind the clock back a couple of years, as you've alluded to, it might take a lot longer than that for the person to be on site, a lot longer than that for the investigations to take place, and then ultimately, if a payment was made, for that money to flow through. So, yes, I do recall vividly those large water-based losses in Queensland, and there was a number of them from 2009 to 2012, Yasi being the largest. But, and yeah, I guess people were on the ground in that area for quite some time.
It's a bit of a logistical nightmare because you've got to get a flight to an airport that's going to let you in. You've got to get accommodation in a wrecked
Absolutely.
hotel.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like working around a quasi-COVID all the time. As you've, just absolutely hit the nail on the head, alluded to, you're often going into situations where, to some degree, a mini disaster has just occurred, or whenever you have a large-scale weather loss, or I guess a violent weather incident, what you're going into is a little bit reminiscent of a war zone. People see these things on TV. I guess the debris spreads as far as the eye can see. There's damage. People have been displaced. Consequently, people are upset. Emergency accommodation is often taken. And as you've just referenced, things like charter flights and so forth, they're not easy to get. And not only that, when you get there, and it all forms part of the rich tapestry of the challenge, which one needs to embrace, but when you get there too, people are looking to you for, I guess, expertise and guidance. So it needs to fit well within your armoury that you are able to operate in these often challenging environments.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what they pay the big dollars for, Brett.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And even getting a hire car's a nightmare. So, oh boy, they're not there just laid on, ready to go and undamaged in that sort of environment. Mate, thanks for coming on again this week. I really appreciate that. I've got to put this up just to make sure. We're going to have you back in a couple of weeks' time, Brett. And we're going to be looking at some of the terminology loss adjusters use. And we're going to be looking at things, subrogation, estoppel.
Yes. I'll start to do some reading.
Good on you, mate. I think you better go through the old textbooks. Thanks for coming in, Brett. I look forward to seeing you again in the future, mate.
Absolute pleasure, Mike. Thank you.
All the best. Bye. Well, what's been happening in investigations throughout this week? Bit risky trying to say you the news when Facebook is shutting everybody down. So we've got a guest speaker coming to us from Strawn in Tasmania, just having a little bit of difficulty getting on at the moment. So we're hoping that he'll be on before we close. But I'll go through some of the things I've got to get through just while we're waiting for him to connect. There's something worth waiting for. So we'll get on with that in a minute. But here's first one that we've got to look at.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more.
Okay, so the API, Industry Association, the Association of Investigative Professional Things, they've got their conference coming up on the 18th and 19th of March. So basically it's a virtual conference. I've signed up for it today. I'm a member, so I think I paid my $140 or whatsoever. So that's coming up soon. They've got a number of speakers over the 2 days. The members of the organisation can get CP, Continuous Professional Development points for attending. There's some really interesting subjects in this and some great speakers. And it's a credit to the AIPI that they keep putting these things on. during the difficult times we've got at actually getting to meetings. But this is on the 18th and 19th of March. If you get on the AIPI website, you'll see all about what they've got happening, who the speakers are, the subjects that they've got. It's mostly factual investigation. I don't think there's any surveillance in that. Quite often you'll get speakers that do talk about surveillance during the course of it. There's no loss adjusters that I'm aware of that are speaking in it. Oh, actually, sorry. Yes, there is a loss adjuster. He's a convener of one of the meetings. So Vince from LKA is speaking in at that, convening one of the presentations in that event. So it's a very big 2 days, a range of government, corporate and private investigations speakers. And if you're a member of the AIPI, you get a discount for that. So hopefully, if you're interested in that sort of that event, go and have a look at it. Rushing back up, 18th and 19th of March and AIPI. So Google, give them a Google, you'll see them. So what else have we got happening around the place? Wait a minute, here we go. So our positions vacant this week. I've never seen so many positions vacant. They're coming up left, right and centre. So let's have a look at what's happening out there. The Law Enforcement Integrity Commission, they want a Director of Integrity Investigations, and I think they want to pay you over $250,000 a year to do that work on their behalf. So that's on our Facebook page, people. So if you're looking for a job as a private, corporate or government investigator, this is the page you've got to go to. This is Australian Private Investigator, Corporate Government Investigation Jobs. Only put up 30% of the available jobs that are out there. But go to this page on Facebook. You have to ask to join. So I'll put you through. I'm the one that authorises you joining it. That's where you'll find these jobs. So our first one, that was for the Law Enforcement Integrity. The next one, one of my absolute favourites, Pinkerton's in Melbourne, looking for an investigator. They want surveillance and factual investigator, full-time or part-time down there. Great firm to work for. You're working for the oldest investigation agency in the world with some of the youngest managers in the world running the organisation very competently. So Pinkerton's have got that job down in Melbourne. If you're a licensed private investigator, apply for it. They are a great company to work for. Here's an entry-level position on the Gold Coast with the Adjuster Court. So it's a junior position. So they're looking for someone who's wants to learn their trade as an investigator. You know, you don't have to be a loss adjuster to get that job, but they are, seeking someone to do that work. So if you've been done your Certificate 3 in Investigative Services, by all means, and you're on the Gold Coast, go and apply for that job. The Gaming Regulation Commission in Victoria, they're looking for an investigator. So this one has just popped up this week. This is going to be a more experienced person that can handle that type of work. So that's down in Victoria. You'll need a certificate for or a diploma in government investigation to do that job. Oh, just done that one. Well, here you go. Work for the largest investigation agency in Australia. This is MJM. They're looking for general insurance factual investigators Australia-wide. You can start today. So get in contact with them. Get on my Facebook page to see that job. They're looking for licensed investigators to conduct general insurance work. What is general insurance work? It's home and contents investigations. It's break-into steals. It's home burglaries. It's stolen motor vehicles. It's public liability relating to the household for the general insurance of your home and contents. It's great work. You'll never have more fun than doing general insurance investigations. So MJM, they're looking for investigators. Got your license, got your qualification. They want you to start immediately. fraud investigation analyst at the Bank of Queensland in Queensland. So that's a corporate investigation position. This one's a senior compliance officer, and they are paying $129,000 for that role in New South Wales government. So certainly one to look forward to when you have your certificate for, probably your diploma in government investigation at that point. The Law Enforcement Integrity Commission, I think I've already done that one. Whoops, that's not a job. Just put jobs up first, please, Michael. General insurance investigators are still wanted by Brookside Investigation. So Ryan down there is looking for you to work for them, general insurance investigations. We featured Brookside on our program last week, and we're trying to feature a new investigation agency every week without fear or favour. So get in touch with Brookside. They're looking for people to do general insurance investigations who are licensed. So they have positions vacant there, just like MJM do. There's a factual investigator required by AWI in Perth. Now, that's featured on some of the job vacancies websites around the place, so certainly look at that. I mentioned Vince from the LKA group being at the AIPI meeting earlier today, and they're looking for factual investigators at LKA. So they want to be licensed. You know, if you're licensed, if you're experienced, get in touch with them and have a chat with Vince. One of the things that's coming up this week is we are looking, we've introduced through all the industry associations, and I've approached all the licensing agencies in relation to this, and I've had a very good warm reception on it for a whole range of reasons. Let's have a look at the video.
When the pimp's in the crib, ma, drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot. When the pigs try to get at you, park it like it's
right?
Okay, so that's something that's happening around Australia with licensing authorities and the Industry Association. It's a hot topic at the moment. This is our featured investigation agency of the week. I hope. Okay, M&A investigations are probably the largest investigation agency in Australia that you've never heard of. They've been in business now for 41 years at M&A investigations. They do workers' compensation investigations, general insurance investigations, and a whole range of other public liability investigations, motor vehicle accident, that sort of thing. It's the largest investigation agency that you've never heard of. So why is that important? Well, they're very under the radar. They demand that all their investigators in New South Wales hold a New South Wales Security Master Licence. Now, that's a bit of a barrier for a beginner, but that's their own process, policy and procedure, M&A. Now, as you get further out into the sticks in Tasmania or Perth, or so, that probably won't apply to you so much because they're looking for investigators nationwide. They have contracts into the millions with their clients. So big insurance companies rely on M&A to deliver a full service all around the country, and they do. This is an organisation that is really professional, great to work for, very supportive. They don't take any mucking around. If you're an idiot on social media, particularly with surveillance or something like that, you'll never get start with M&A investigations. They are top of their game in relation to what they do. I'm a big supporter of M&A. They have a whole lot of investigators working for them. They have continuous clients for 41 years. That's a pretty good effort at M&A. So if you're looking for work and you do hold that master license in New South Wales, get in touch with M&A. If you're not, if you are in any other state, they hold contracts with the VWA in Victoria. I think they have TAC in Victoria as well. So talk to them about what you can do for them at M&A. They're very receptive. Replay this and go back to see who you have to contact. It was in that video. Okay, his phone number was there, and he'll be very, very receptive to hearing from you. So M&A Investigations, great organisation. Based in New South Wales, but they are in every state in Australia. So that's what's happened there. Now, a couple of other things that have come up this week. I've got to be really careful because of Facebook and its issues with news, but the Security Licensing Enforcement Directorate of New South Wales, this is about security. So this is security risk analysis, doesn't really affect investigators. But through their fingerprinting, the applications for security licenses, they've discovered a person that was involved in a sexual assault through matching the prints. And they went ahead and informed the New South Wales Police, and charges against that person were laid. So in terms of that, what's happened there is that fingerprinting process has found someone that's acted inappropriately as far as society is concerned, and ensured that he didn't get a security license, and any other licenses he had were taken off him, and the New South Wales Police laid charges on. So well done, SLED, well done, New South Wales Police. And with the proposed drug testing issues for licensed private investigators and fingerprinting, this is going to really improve what's going on out there in the industry. So that was good to see this week. Well done, SLED. Very, very pleased to see that. In Queensland, the public sector corruption came out as investigated by the CCC, and topping the list of complaints at the CCC was Queensland Health with 4,334 complaints. And that was way ahead of the next one on the list, which was Queensland Education with 2,574 complaints in the last year that have been put to the CCC. So it's a pretty big effort to get that many complaints out of Queensland Health, but it's a big organisation. They employ 90,000 people across a geographic area that's bigger than some European countries. So it's a highly emotional thing with sick people, elderly people, all that sort of thing going on. So they had a lot of complaints, and I'm sure they've been investigated thoroughly, but it just gives you an idea in the public service, as a person who holds that certificate in government investigation, you're going to be doing this sort of thing with the CCC for health, education, corrective services, and a whole lot of other different places. So that came out this week. It's great that they report this so people like us can do our research into what we're going to do in our careers, and really sort of gauge sort of what the opportunities are in investigations in government throughout Australia. So that just came out this week. I'm really pleased to see that they put it up, because a lot of government departments would be tempted not to report this sort of stuff, but the CCC have done it, and that's what's happened there. All right, so jump out of that. We've really tried to get Mark on. Mark's in Strawn in Tasmania. We're having connection issues, so what we'll do is we will bring Mark on another day. Mark has been training very hard this week in areas of confined spaces and working at heights, and He's just told me I've got a nice picture in the background. Thanks, Mark. It's great picture. That was just for you. Please say good day to Judy for me, Mark. Really appreciate you trying so hard. We gave it the best we've got. So we would have talked to Mark today about his work in workplace health and safety. Where is it? I'll just bring it up. Here we go. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get a connection. We'll get it next time. Mark's based in Tasmania, has been teaching, working at heights and confined spaces all this week. He is a workplace health and safety expert. Let's just have a look at some of the places Mark's worked out of Tasmania. Have a look at this. He's been involved in Eastern Africa, working there, doing his thing, and he has been contracted to go here, and he's heading off to go to Mongolia in a couple of weeks' time. So really great to see Mark doing that with what he's got to do there. But he's worked all around Australia. But we'll get it on, Mark, next time, mate, and we'll try again. Might even catch up with you from Mongolia. Might be a little bit closer than Strawn, who knows? Okay, so moving right along. This is really important. It's our question of the week, right? So here we go. Here's Laura.
Hi Mike, Laura here again for question of the week. This week's question comes from Zoska, and Zoska would like to know, do licensed private investigators do undercover work?
What a great question. How good's that? Try not to ring me up when I'm on live stream. Anyway, we'll go back with that question. Oscar asked, do investigators, licensed private investigators, do undercover work? Nope, wrong video. We'll go with this one. Okay, so they do undercover work. In fact, around Australia today, right now as you're watching this, there's probably 100 licensed private investigators doing undercover work. Now, what do? They do the corporate work that the police are not interested in. The police are too busy with drugs, rapists, psychos, all sorts of things going on that the community expects. If a corporation has a problem with people stealing from their workplace or using drugs in their workplace or dealing out of their workplace or something along, that's just a corporation's risk management issue. So what that means is you've got to get the evidence yourself if you're the corporation. The police are too busy with terrorism, bank robbers, all that sort of thing. So the undercover people will be engaged to go in. No, you don't get 2 lots of pay. You just get paid to be a private investigator. So what's some of the situations or a situation that you could get yourself in that's dangerous as an undercover worker? It could happen in the workplace or as part of your cover. You're invited to a party and this happens. So you're now in serious trouble. You're at a social event related to your undercover thing that you had to go to that you can't avoid because it's important to the operation. And you've just been offered drugs in that social situation. Now, if you're an undercover cop, Oh, yeah, you just get stuck into it. That's fine. They're allowed to do that. And if they're asked to go and sell it, they go and sell it. That's part of their role. But if you're a licensed private investigator, you touch that crap, you will be untouchable in the industry. So you've got to have a response to what everybody's looking at you about. They're going to go, okay, you've just been offered a line. You're going to take it, mate. And you've got to be able to say, no, I'm not, and why? And you've got to be able to matter-of-factly cover yourself so you don't blow your cover. And it goes like this. You go, oh, look, that's fantastic. I'd really love to. But one of the engineers at work last week got caught using a Whizzinator, and consequently we're on blanket tests now for the next 3 months. And the next test is on Monday. And, 30 years ago, they'd all go, oh, bummer, man. That really sucks. They don't do that anymore. These are all now professionals who are sucking this stuff up their nose, and they understand workplace health and safety. And they understand that you could be in a role in your workplace where you are drug tested and that you would lose your job for it. Now, if you get a question from someone there and they say, well, what do? You just say, well, I'm in AF services. All right, what part? Avionics. That should keep them thinking about that for the next 10 years. So you've got to be able to roll that off your tongue. Now, what is a Whizzinator? Every junkie addict that's professional knows what a Whizzinator is, and you don't. Why do they know that? Because if they get drug tested, they're going to use one. If they're a bloke, I don't know what they're going to do if they're a girl. So let's have a look at the Whizzinator and what it's all about, because you are going to have to use that as your excuse and know what it is, because they know, right? So this is not just pop culture, it's drug culture, it's workplace health and safety culture. So this is the official site of the Whizzinator. If you're easily offended, get out of here now, okay? I'll give you 5 seconds to leave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, these things are used in mining, forestry, transport, professional sport. They use it to cheat the urine test. You go to this website and you can basically buy a Whizzinator that matches your skin colour with your pink, brown, Latin, whatever you are. They have a fake penis that fits into your undies, and they have fake urine that squirts out through that so you can pass your drug test. You can buy this, okay? And people do. There is a global demand for this sort of thing. You go further down, you go through all the colours, they tell you all about how it works, that sort of thing, and they tell you how to order it and that it's not intended for any illegal purposes. You've got to follow all your state federal laws when using your Whizzinator to beat the drug test with your fake chemical urine. You don't use someone else's urine with this. You don't want their sticky bottle handed to you for you to use, right? This is a nice clean out of the lab bottle which has fake urine in it that'll help you pass your drug test after you've been snorting coke up your nose all weekend. So this is what your excuse was as the undercover operative. The engineer last week was caught using one, and now your workplace is on blanket tests. So keep that in mind. That's your cover story for when you're offered that sort of thing in the workplace. Got to learn to use 2 screens. Bye. Okay. So, people, we've gone our 30 minutes. We've done our featured investigation agency. We've done our drug testing. Laura's coffee mug. Zoska actually won a coffee mug for that, and she was very kind enough to send us in a photo. So, there's Oscar's coffee mug that she won for sending in that question. If you want to win a coffee mug, videotape your question and send it in, and Laura will ask it. And, I'll play it, right? And you'll win a coffee mug. But Zoska's question was such a good one, I thought that deserves this coffee mug, and she was very happy with her coffee mug. people, that's our program for this week. I'm really sorry Mark couldn't be on. I was really looking forward to that. Sure, he'll get in touch with us from inner Mongolia or out of Mongolia in the future. He's down at Strawn visiting Mum Judy at the moment. Great place, Strawn. If you ever go to Tasmania, do not miss Strawn. Wonderful spot. I thank Brett for coming in. Brett from OBA Consulting. He's always a live wire. He's always got interesting information to pass on. It's really great. Don't forget, people, get in touch with Pinkertons for that job in Melbourne, and that's really important. And MJM, they're looking for general insurance investigators Australia-wide. They want them. They need them all around the country, and Brookside are looking for them as well, and LKA. So get out, put yourself out there. You finish your Certificate 3 and get working. The work's there. Okay, it has not affected, COVID has not affected that level of work. So don't forget the AIPI, 18th and 19th of March. I'm going out with my favourite way of going out each week. If I can just find it here on my list. Got to be there somewhere.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
Mission complete, all units return to base. I'm sure that is exactly how every investigation agency in Australia completes their week every Friday. I'm sure they say to all units return to the investigation agency here at Burleigh Heads. I don't think they do, but that was the Koreans' version of it. So people, see you next week. We'll have some more job vacancies, some more stuff for you to talk to more people to talk to you. This is episode 49 of Australian Investigation, Government and Corporate Weekly News. See you then. I'll just replay what's coming up for the future in the...
When the pimp's in the crib, ma, drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. When the pigs try to get at you, park it like it's...
Right?
So that's coming to all licensing authorities and all industry associations. It's been put in place this week. They've all been contacted in relation to it. Looking forward to see who doesn't want to do it. I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be a bit of a heads up and a bit of interest packed for the day. So see you next week, people. I'm Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Laura. See you then. Bye.